The summer heat pressed against the windows of my parents' house as relatives filled every available space. The annual Chen family reunion. 3 generations crammed into suburban Connecticut, comparing accomplishments like Olympic scores. I stood by the punch bowl watching my cousin Marcus demonstrate his surgical technique on an imaginary patient. He was in his 2nd year of residency at a community hospital, and you'd think he'd discovered penicillin based on how Uncle Robert beamed with pride. And that's when I realized the previous attending had completely misdiagnosed the condition, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the living room. If I hadn't caught it, the patient could have died. That's incredible, Marcus, my mother cooed. A real doctor. Saving lives every day. That's a career with meaning. Her eyes flicked to me, the comparison obvious and intentional. Not like some people, Dad muttered loud enough for me to hear. Wasting years on research that leads nowhere. Playing scientist in some basement lab. I sipped my punch, saying nothing. Dr. Marcus Chen, Aunt Linda sighed dramatically. It has such a wonderful ring to it. We're so proud. And he's already being considered for a competitive fellowship at Massachusetts General. Mass General, Dad repeated, impressed. Now that's a real institution. Prestigious. Respected. Not like these small research facilities that promise the world and deliver nothing. My sister Jennifer, married to a hedge fund manager, 2 kids, house in Westchester, joined the conversation with her usual diplomatic cruelty. I think it's wonderful that Maya is passionate about science. Even if it doesn't lead to a traditional career. Not everyone needs to be successful in conventional ways. She's 32, Mom said, her voice tight with disappointment. 32 years old, and what does she have to show for it? No marriage prospects, no stable income, no clear career trajectory. Just vague talk about important research that never seems to materialize into anything real. Research takes time, I said quietly. Time. Dad's laugh was harsh. You've had a decade, Maya. A decade of pursuing your passion while your peers built actual careers. Marcus is saving lives. Jennifer runs a successful interior design firm. Your cousin David just made partner at his law firm. And you're still in a lab accomplishing what exactly? Molecular oncology research doesn't happen overnight. Excuses, Mom interrupted. Always excuses. You know what I think? I think you're hiding. Using research as an excuse to avoid the real world. Real jobs. Real responsibilities. Uncle Robert joined the pile-on, his voice booming. I've been saying this for years. The problem with academia is it lets people hide from accountability. In the private sector, you produce results or you're gone. Simple as that. But in research, you can tinker away forever, publishing papers nobody reads, accomplishing nothing concrete. Maya's work is very specialized, Jennifer said, her defense somehow more insulting than the attacks. Not everyone can understand what she does. It's probably very important. In its niche. Marcus approached, holding a beer, his residency confidence making him appear older than his 28 years. What are you researching these days, Maya? Still the cancer stuff. Immunotherapy mechanisms, I said. Specifically, why certain tumors resist checkpoint inhibitor treatments. He nodded like he understood, but his eyes glazed over. Right. School. Very theoretical. I prefer the hands-on patient care side of medicine. Making immediate impact, you know? Seeing results right away. Theoretical. Mom seized on the word. Exactly. Maya's work is all theoretical. Nothing practical. Nothing that helps real people. That's not entirely fair, I started. Isn't it? Dad set down his drink with force. Name one person your research has helped. One patient. One life saved. You can't, because research is just endless questions with no answers. It's a career for people afraid of the real world. Aunt Linda, ever the peacemaker, tried redirecting. I'm sure Maya's research is valuable. All science has merit, even if it's not as immediately impactful as clinical medicine. The problem, Uncle Robert said, settling into lecture mode, is funding. These research institutes, they're black holes for money. Billions of dollars poured into studies that produce nothing. Meanwhile, hospitals need resources, doctors need support, patients need care. But where does the money go? To researchers playing with test tubes. That's an oversimplification, I said, my voice still calm despite my rising irritation. Is it though? Dad challenged. Look at the National Institutes of Health. The CD. These massive bureaucracies burning through taxpayer money. For what? Papers and journals nobody reads. While real doctors like Marcus work 80-hour weeks saving actual lives. Marcus had the grace to look uncomfortable with being used as a weapon against me, but he didn't object. Speaking of funding, Mom said, her voice taking on a new edge, your father and I have been meaning to talk to you about something. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. We're concerned about your financial future, Mom continued. You're 32, living in a tiny apartment, driving a 10-year-old car. Your student loans from grad school must be crushing. Meanwhile, you're pouring your life into research that doesn't pay. I manage fine, I said. Fine isn't good enough, Dad snapped. Your mother and I have been discussing this. We think it's time you considered a career change. Something stable. Something with real earning potential. I have a career. You have a hobby that barely pays, Dad corrected. There's a difference. Jennifer's husband has connections at several pharmaceutical companies. Real companies with real budgets. Sales positions, marketing, regulatory affairs. Jobs that pay 6 figures and don't require you to waste your life in a lab. My phone buzzed again. Insistently. We just want you to be practical, Mom said, her voice softening in a way that was somehow worse than her criticism. To have security. The future. Maybe meet someone, settle down. But how can you do any of that while you're married to a career that leads nowhere? My research is leading somewhere, I said quietly. Where? Uncle Robert challenged. Show us results. Show us impact. Show us something concrete instead of vague promises about future discoveries. I pulled out my phone, meaning to silence it. The screen showed 6 urgent messages from my administrative assistant. Director Chen, emergency grant review needed. Director Chen, your parents' application flagged for your approval. Urgent. Family conflict of interest protocols activated. Please respond. Busy board meeting in 30 minutes. My heart rate spiked. I opened my email, scrolling quickly through the messages. There it was. A grant application to the Chen Institute for Advanced Medical Research. The institute I'd founded and directed for the past 4 years. The institute with a $2.7 billion endowment. The institute my parents had just applied to for funding. For Marcus's research fellowship. The fellowship at Massachusetts General Aunt Linda had mentioned so proudly. Except the fellowship wasn't at Mass General. It was at my institute. A competitive position that received 847 applications for 12 spots. A fellowship that required director approval for any applications with potential conflicts of interest. Like family members. Why, Jennifer's voice broke through my shock. You're being rude. Mom was talking to you. I looked up at my family, their expectant faces, their judgment, their absolute certainty that they understood my life better than I did. Sorry, I said. Work emergency. I need to make a call. Work. Dad's voice dripped sarcasm. What possible emergency could happen in a research lab? Did a petri dish break? I walked toward the backyard, my phone already dialing my assistant. Dr. Chen, Sarah answered immediately. Thank God. Did you see the application? Just now. Walk me through it. Your nephew Marcus Chen applied for the Advanced Clinical Translational Fellowship. Strong application actually. His residency evaluations are excellent, research proposal is solid. But the system flagged it when it cross-referenced his emergency contact information. Your parents are listed as his sponsors and financial guarantors. How did they even know about the fellowship? It's listed on our website as one of the most prestigious training positions in oncology research. 12 spots, full funding, direct pipeline to top academic positions. We had almost 900 applicants this cycle. And my parents applied on Marcus's behalf without knowing I run the institute? Apparently. The application includes a statement from your father about the importance of real-world medical research versus theoretical academic exercises. I think he was trying to distinguish clinical work from basic science. He seems unaware that you've built a $2.7 billion institute doing exactly what he's criticizing. I rubbed my temples. What's the conflict of interest protocol? You're required to recuse yourself from the decision. The deputy director and fellowship committee will make the final call. But Maya, Director Chen, there's a complication. What? Your mother called the office this morning. She spoke to someone in HR asking about expediting the application. She mentioned having a daughter who wastes time in research, and implied that real doctors like Marcus deserve priority. She didn't realize she was talking to your chief of staff. Oh God. Dr. Reeves is not pleased. She wants to discuss it at the board meeting. Some members are suggesting we need to address this publicly, given the nature of the comments about your work. I looked back at the house. Through the window, I could see my mother laughing at something Uncle Robert said, completely unaware that she just insulted the director of the institute she was seeking funding from. I'll be there in 45 minutes, I said. Prepare the full application file and the conflict of interest documentation. And Sarah? Don't tell anyone about my relationship to the applicant. Not yet. Understood. But Maya, they're going to find out eventually. Your parents. Marcus. Your family. I know. But they're going to find out the right way. I hung up and walked back inside. The conversation had moved on to Jennifer's latest design project, a mansion renovation in Greenwich. Nobody noticed my return. And the client wants Italian marble throughout, Jennifer was saying. 12 bathrooms. The budget is absurd, but that's what you get working with hedge fund money. Real success, Mom said pointedly. Real clients. Real income. That's what we want for all our children. I cleared my throat. I need to leave. Something came up at work. Of course you do, Dad said. Always running back to your lab. God forbid you spend time with family. It's important. More important than family? Mom's voice rose. Maya, this is exactly the problem. You prioritize meaningless research over the people who love you. Over building a real life. My work isn't meaningless. Then what is it? Uncle Robert challenged. What are you working on that's so crucial you can't spare a few hours for family? I looked at them, their comfortable certainty, their dismissive smiles, their absolute conviction that I was wasting my life. I'm the director of a major medical research institute, I said quietly. I run a $2.7 billion organization focused on cancer immunotherapy. I oversee 340 researchers across 6 departments. I've published 47 papers in top-tier journals. 3 of my discoveries are currently in clinical trials. And I was just informed that there's an urgent situation requiring my immediate attention. The room went silent. Very funny, Dad said finally. Maya, this isn't the time for jokes. I'm not joking. You're telling us you run a medical institute? Mom's laugh was sharp. You, the girl who can barely afford her rent. The Chen Institute for Advanced Medical Research, I said. Maybe you've heard of it. You applied there this morning. For Marcus's fellowship. The color drained from Mom's face. That's impossible, Uncle Robert said. The Chen Institute is one of the premier research facilities in the country. They work with Harvard, MIT, Stanford. Their director is a renowned oncologist who published a breakthrough paper on checkpoint inhibitor resistance 3 years ago. I interrupted. A paper that revolutionized how we think about tumor immunology. A paper that secured initial funding from the Ashford Foundation and led to the Institute's founding. That was my work. My paper. My institute. Marcus pulled out his phone, frantically searching. His face went white as he scrolled through the results. Oh my God, he whispered. Dr. Maya Chen. Director and founder, Chen Ashford Institute. Forbes 40 under 40 foot in healthcare. Named one of Time's 100 most influential people in medicine. I'm the person whose approval you need for your fellowship application, I said gently. And the person my mother called a waste of time in research, to my chief of staff this morning. Mom swayed. Jennifer caught her arm. I don't understand, Dad said, his voice hollow. You live in a small apartment. You drive an old car. You never said. You never asked, I said. You assumed. You decided my life was a failure because I didn't fit your definition of success. You judged my career without knowing anything about it. But the Chen Ashford Institute, Aunt Linda said faintly. The endowment alone is billions. They cure cancer. They train the top researchers in the world. You're saying you founded that? 4 years ago, after my postdoc at Johns Hopkins, the Ashford Foundation saw my work on immunotherapy resistance and offered initial funding. We've grown significantly since then. Significantly, Marcus repeated, still staring at his phone. You have 6 state-of-the-art research facilities. You collaborate with every major cancer center in North America. Your institute's therapies have helped thousands of patients. You're literally saving lives every day. Theoretical research, I said, looking at my mother. Remember? Nothing practical. Nothing that helps real people. Mom sank into a chair, her face ashen. The fellowship, Marcus said, his voice shaking. The application I submitted. You're the director who reviews. I'm recusing myself due to conflict of interest, I said. The deputy director and fellowship committee will make the decision based purely on merit. But Marcus, you should know, we received 847 applications. 12 spots. The competition is extraordinary. I know, he whispered. I researched the program extensively. It's the most prestigious fellowship in translational oncology. I've been preparing my application for 8 months. It's my dream position. Then I hope your application reflects that, I said. Because it will be judged against some of the most talented young physicians in the country. Wait, Jennifer said, finding her voice. If you run this institute, if you have this huge budget, why do you live so modestly? Why the small apartment? The old car? Because I invest in research, not luxury, I said simply. My salary is substantial, but most of it funds additional studies, equipment, scholarships for young researchers. The science is what matters, not the trappings. But you could, Jennifer started. I could live in a mansion, I agreed. Drive a Mercedes. Wear designer clothes. I choose not to. Because unlike some people, I don't measure worth by material possessions or conventional markers of success. Dad stood abruptly, his chair scraping back. We didn't know. You never told us. How were we supposed to know? You could have asked about my work instead of dismissing it. You could have looked me up, done basic research. You could have trusted that maybe, just maybe, I knew what I was doing with my life. We thought we were helping, Mom said, tears starting. We thought we were protecting you from wasting your life. You were projecting your values onto my choices, I interrupted. You decided academic research wasn't valuable because it doesn't fit into your understanding of success. You never considered that I might be excellent at what I do. That I might be making a real difference. Uncle Robert had pulled out his phone. Jesus Christ. Maya, you've been on 60 Minutes. You testified before Congress about research funding. The National Cancer Institute calls you a transformative figure in modern oncology. How did we not know this? Because you never asked, I said. And because I've never felt the need to perform my accomplishments for family validation. The science speaks for itself. I'm going to be sick, Mom said, her voice breaking. I called your office. I spoke to someone. I said terrible things about you, about your work. I didn't know. Oh God, I didn't know. You spoke to Dr. Patricia Reeves, my chief of staff, I said. Former dean of Harvard Medical School. One of the most respected physicians in America. He was surprised by your comments. What did I say? Mom whispered. Exactly. What did I say? I pulled out my phone, opening the email Sarah had forwarded. You said that real doctors like Marcus deserve priority over people who waste time in research labs accomplishing nothing. You said that clinical medicine is real medicine, and basic research is academic masturbation. Your words. To the chief of staff of a $2.7 billion research institute. The silence was absolute. The board meeting, Jennifer said slowly. You said you have a board meeting. About Marcus's application. About the conflict of interest protocols, yes. And about how to handle situations where family members of staff or leadership apply for positions. This is actually a valuable case study for our policies. Case study, Marcus repeated numbly. My career is a case study. Your application is a case study, I corrected. Your career is whatever you make of it. If your research proposal is strong, if your recommendations are excellent, if your vision for translational medicine is compelling, you might earn a fellowship spot. Not because you're my nephew. Not because of family connection. But because you're genuinely one of the 12 best applicants in a pool of 847. And if I'm not, he asked. Then you'll receive a polite rejection letter, same as everyone else. And you'll apply to other programs and build an excellent career elsewhere. Medicine has many paths. But the Chen Fellowship is the best, Aunt Linda said. Marcus has been talking about it for months. It's his dream. Then he'll be evaluated on merit, I said. Like everyone else. That's how serious institutions work. My phone buzzed. Sarah, board meeting starting in 20 minutes. They're waiting for you. I really do need to leave, I said. My board is waiting. Your board, Dad repeated faintly. You have a board. 15 members. 3 Nobel laureates, 2 former NIH directors, the CEO of a major pharmaceutical company, several prominent oncologists, and representatives from our major funding sources. They take governance very seriously. Maya, please, Mom stood reaching for me. I'm so sorry. We were so wrong about everything. Can you forgive us? Eventually, maybe, I said. But right now I'm angry. And hurt. And honestly a bit vindicated watching you all realize that the daughter you pitted is actually more successful than you imagined. More successful than all of us combined, Uncle Robert said, still scrolling through his phone. Your institute's annual budget exceeds the GDP of small countries. You've revolutionized cancer treatment. You're literally one of the most important medical researchers in the world. And yet, I said softly, none of that mattered to you until you found out about it by accident. My work was worthless when you thought I was just another struggling researcher. It only became valuable when you learned it came with prestige and money. That's not fair, Jennifer protested. Isn't it? If Marcus's fellowship application had gone to a small, unknown institute, would you all still be impressed with my career? Or would you still think I was wasting my life? No one answered. That's what I thought, I said. You don't value the work. You value the recognition. And that tells me everything I need to know about how you view success. I picked up my bag and headed for the door. Wait, Marcus called after me. My application. The fellowship. Will you? I already told you. I'm recused. The decision will be made by the committee based purely on merit. If you're good enough, you'll earn it. If you're not, you won't. That's how science works. But surely you could put in a word, Aunt Linda said desperately. Family should help family. Family should believe in family, I corrected. Family should support each other's choices, ask about each other's work, celebrate each other's successes. You all failed at that. Why should I compromise my institute's integrity to compensate for your failures? Maya, Mom tried again, tears streaming. Please don't leave like this. Stay. Talk to us. Help us understand. I've been trying to help you understand for a decade, I said. You weren't interested in listening. Now you're interested because there are stakes. Because Marcus's career hangs in the balance. Because you suddenly realize I'm not the family failure you thought I was. I opened the door. For what it's worth, I said, looking back at them, Marcus's application is strong. His research proposal shows promise. His recommendations are excellent. He has a real shot at the fellowship if the committee sees what I see. A talented young physician committed to translational medicine. Marcus's face lit with hope. But, I continued, he's competing against candidates from Johns Hopkins, Stanford, Mayo Clinic, MD Anderson. Brilliant researchers with groundbreaking proposals. So even with a strong application, his odds are maybe 15%. Same as any other competitive candidate. 15%, Aunt Linda whispered. Welcome to competitive academic medicine, I said. Where excellence is expected and exceptionalism is required. Where nobody cares about your family connections or your prestigious undergraduate institution. Where the work speaks for itself. You really won't help him? Uncle Robert said, his voice hardening. Your own nephew? I really won't compromise my institute's integrity, I corrected. I won't give preferential treatment based on family. I won't undermine the competitive process that makes my fellowship program one of the most prestigious in the world. And I won't let family pressure influence decisions that should be based purely on scientific merit. That's cold, he said. That's professional, I replied. That's how you run an organization with 340 employees and a $2.7 billion endowment. That's how you maintain credibility in the scientific community. By being fair. By being rigorous. By refusing to let personal relationships corrupt the process. I stepped onto the porch. Oh, and one more thing, I said. That comment Mom made to Dr. Reeves? About research being worthless? Dr. Reeves wants to discuss it at the board meeting. Some members are suggesting we need to make a statement about respecting basic science. Your comments might end up being cited in our next institutional communication about the value of research. Mom's face went from pale to green. I'll do my best to keep your name out of it, I said. But I can't promise anything. Dr. Reeves is very protective of the Institute's mission. And very offended by people who dismiss research as worthless. I walked to my car, leaving my family standing in shocked silence. The drive to the Institute took 40 minutes. Enough time to breathe, to center myself, to shift from hurt daughter to professional director. By the time I pulled into the parking garage, the one with my name on a reserved spot, a detail that would have stunned my family, I was composed. Sarah met me at the elevator. The board is assembled. Dr. Reeves briefed them on the situation. They're concerned about the ethics protocols. As they should be. Any organization with $2.7 billion should be paranoid about conflicts of interest. Dr. Chen, Sarah said carefully, some board members are angry on your behalf. About your family's comments. Dr. Patterson wants to release a statement about respect for researchers. We're not making this personal, I said firmly. We're using it as a policy example. Nothing more. The boardroom was exactly as impressive as it should be. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Charles River. A massive table, walls lined with published research from our institute. 15 brilliant minds looked up as I entered. Dr. Chen, Dr. Reeves said warmly. Thank you for coming so quickly. Thank you all for your patience, I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. I apologize for the unusual circumstances. Unusual is one word for it, Dr. Patterson said dryly. Your mother called my old colleague at Mass General asking for advice on dealing with research institutes yesterday. She had no idea she was asking about your organization. A few board members chuckled. The conflict of interest is clear, I said. I recuse myself from any decisions regarding Marcus Chen's fellowship application. Deputy Director Morrison will oversee the review process with the fellowship committee. Already in motion, Dr. Morrison confirmed. We've flagged the application and ensured no preferential treatment. The committee doesn't know about the family connection. Good, I said. That's how it should be. But Maya, Dr. Reeves said gently, we need to address the personal aspect. Your family dismissed your work. Insulted you. Called our institute's mission worthless. That's not acceptable. It's ignorant, I corrected. Not malicious. They genuinely didn't know what I do. They made assumptions based on limited understanding of academic research. And now they know, Dr. Patterson said. What happens next? Next, we use this as a teaching moment, I said. We draft a communication, for our website for our stakeholders, about the value of basic research. About how scientific discovery works. About why investment in theoretical work leads to practical breakthroughs. We don't name names. We don't make it personal. We make it educational. That's generous, Dr. Reeves observed. Given how they treated you. It's professional, I said. And it's necessary. Because my family's ignorance isn't unique. Plenty of people don't understand the research enterprise. Don't see the connection between lab work and clinical outcomes. Don't recognize that today's theoretical discovery becomes tomorrow's life-saving treatment. You're right, Dr. Morrison said. And we have the platform to educate. This could actually be valuable messaging. Exactly, I agreed. We turn a difficult personal situation into institutional advocacy for basic science. The board meeting continued for 2 hours, addressing the conflict of interest protocols, drafting the educational communications and reviewing other fellowship applications. By the time we finished, my family situation had been transformed into policy improvements that would serve the institute for years. As I walked back to my office, Sarah caught up to me. Your nephew's application came through official channels an hour ago, she said. Dr. Morrison and the committee are reviewing it blind. They literally don't know which applicant is related to you. Perfect. But Maya, you should know, it really is a strong application. His research proposal on combining immunotherapy with targeted radiation is innovative. He has excellent recommendations. If he makes it through, it'll be on merit. That's all I want, I said. For him to succeed or fail based on his work, not his connections. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Maya, please call. Mom is devastated. We all are. We had no idea. We're so sorry. I stared at the message for a long moment, then put the phone away. The apologies would come, heartfelt, genuine, too late to undo the years of dismissal. But they would come. And eventually I might be ready to hear them. But not today. Today I had a $2.7 billion institute to run, 340 researchers counting on my leadership, and groundbreaking science to advance. Today I had real work to do. The kind of work that saves lives. The kind of work my family had spent a decade calling worthless. I smiled as I entered my office. The corner office with my name on the door, my diplomas on the wall, my published papers lining the shelves. The office my parents had never seen because they'd never asked to visit. My assistant knocked. Dr. Chen? The NIH director is on line 1. Something about your lab's breakthrough in checkpoint inhibitor combinations. Put him through, I said, settling into my chair. Outside my window, the Charles River sparkled in the afternoon sun. Inside my office, the phone blinked with another call. Another colleague, another opportunity, another step forward in the work that mattered. The work I'd always known was important. Even when my own family couldn't see it,